Hello, Palworld party people. So, after making my first base in my first playthrough, I thought that the whole base boundary thing was okay, and wanted to stay within it. But now, in my second playthrough, I am playing around with other ideas. So, what I want to show you today is a way to space out your mining bases, platforms away from ore nodes and the like. Could be coal, could be copper, could be sulfur for all I care, could be quartz. But I've found through rigorous testing that these wooden benches do not aggravate the spawning of these nodes. However, wooden foundations do. Now, you can't have your foundations too close, or that'll prevent your ore nodes from respawning at all. They cannot pop up through any of your structures that have a foundation beneath them. So, here's what I do. Or here's what I did. I tested at this site at 1 bench apart, 2 benches apart, and 3 benches apart because the benches wouldn't affect the respawn rate at all. And I found that 3 benches apart was enough for a foundation not to interfere with the respawn of these nodes. So now, what I'm doing in my second playthrough to determine how to build, where to build, etc., to determine a cross section of this. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. First, I want to create foundations around all of these nodes so I can build out and up from there. So basically, the ore nodes are the center of this base. And to do that, I have to determine a corner platform roughly in this area made of wood or stone. Doesn't really matter which. They are pretty interchangeable. Now, to start with, I tend to do a bit of sightline analysis using these benches. So I don't move the mouse, I move my character back, then I set up roughly a crosshair of benches to line up with the other dimension of the grid, so to speak. And I put a bench here because I don't like being blocked by rocks. and it's a nice step up, you know, instead of a hard block. Let me just demonstrate this. Okay. Okay. Here is where it gets block intensive. So, yeah. Bench here is a nice step for that kind of thing. So anyway, I tend to start with the most extreme end of that dimension, and then I edge it ever so closely, place. Then I bring it all the way back to our rough crosshair. And now, this isn't always an accurate measure because the angles of these in the crosshair are often not right angles because human error and all that. So, what I've been doing instead of the extension method for mostly all of these types of builds. Also, it's kind of hard to align a bench to another bench. It takes a lot of exacting detail, and just make things simple and deconstruct the other bench instead, and then just replace either the whole bench or its ghost. Its ghost being the pre-construction version of it. Now, I tried stepping up a rock, so that deviated what we have here. So, what I want to do is make sure that there is a stepping stone right here. So I'm not doing that anymore. Just to make everything a little better. So, okay, so as long as that bench and this line of bench clears this ore on the right, you should be fine. And so I like to do this. Set one here. Then I like to eyeball the other over there. But I need to make a right angle with this. So, to do that, I just pretty much have to do it by eye. And that can take some time. But I feel like I can line it up pretty well. I don't know about that. So actually, it just dawned on me that maybe, just maybe, I could do a right-angled setup by aligning a bench evenly with an existing bench, like this, roughly. And then just rotate 90 degrees until it's perpendicular. Now, that doesn't always work, like it didn't work here. But it's a concept I've been playing around with. The angling at various parts to align a corner in this game. So back to this orientation, and what I could do instead is start here and just eyeball this part because it has to be flat. Oh, okay, I nudged a little bit. My mouse sometimes doesn't want to cooperate. Sorry, this could take a couple tries. Here's one. Here, I nudged. Okay. Probably try it with the other side first, because it's a bit more forgiving that way because of the benches I placed. But anyway, you kind of get the idea. So just draw it back to a point like here, then scroll the mouse wheel until it's perpendicular. Then scroll back again. And you get a rough crosshair. Just keep doing that, I guess. Without moving your mouse 1 millimeter. Now, one of these should be able to line up, and this one does here. So yeah. And now you can orient your other things according to this bench for a corner. Now, since I'm measuring things only in one bench width, we have to extend that. And I'm just going to test whether okay, that's a bad step. I want to make a good step here. Now, there's another thing you have to consider. You're not trying to work in 2 dimensions alone. You're trying to work in 3 dimensions. Now, if I put this down here, there, this rock is kind of blocking things. So I want to bring this foundation up so it covers this. But the rock is over here, and the crosshair that I'm using for orientation is back there. So what I do is I extend platforms out, and then I just determine a rough height to this thing. just to see how many benches high I need to make this. And it doesn't exactly matter the orientation of this, as long as I could probably finish the construction myself, but I kind of want my pals to do it. Anyway, you could just stack benches on top of each other. I typically go 4 benches high or 3 benches high. It depends on how saucy I'm feeling at the time. But yeah, so it looks to be about 3 benches tall. So on flat ground, flat level ground that's level with most of the ground around here, you want to stack 3 benches, or 2 more benches on top of this one. Now, another thing to consider. Just put down a bench here, then put down a foundation next to it once this is done. So where does it block the craft, or block the build? Trying to get this mostly exact. So about here, and that's around half the bench. Half the bench's width. So you need to be measuring a little bit differently than what you would expect. And you're putting the foundation on the outside of the crosshair here. Also, you need to pad it by 3, well, 2.5 additional benches. So, let me just do this again. This time, we need to make sure that we are straight back. And then we extend by walking left until just off where the build is blocked. Like so. As long as it's on level ground, it should be good. Here. Okay, and then we do the same thing from the other direction, more or less. So those are our measuring benches. This is the line where it's still too close to the ore. And then there's the second bench, and then the third bench where we're actually far enough away from the ore, but that doesn't block our crafting of the foundation, so we add another bench that will. So there is a blocking radius to where we place this foundation, so we know exactly which area is too close and which area is not. So yeah, and just to make sure that I get this right, deconstruct them again, because I didn't place the cross sections that are important to making this a right angle. In fact, I don't even need to place that one, it's just force of habit at this point. So, we get this, this. The padding between benches can be fudged a bit. It doesn't have to be exactly exact. Also, I did try aligning these two copper nodes with one line, but that was kind of a pain in the ass. I can see if I can do that. Okay, that's too close. There's a lot of trial and error done with this kind of thing. And that's too close too. Nope. Even if you can get it for one, you can't often get it for the other. And that is why I kind of extended out a little bit on the far side. So I absolutely know that I can clear the second node, despite it being a bit of a gap. I mostly place the ghost of the bench because I want to know exactly where I cannot build another one next to it. Okay, and I nudged, which is not great. Hopefully I can nudge it back just enough. Okay, turn 90 degrees, then create an extension of this. And then just keep extending backward, which is a little trickier. But the ghost of your placement is your guide in this case. I'm just waiting for my break timer to wrap up so I can take a drink and actually see. So yes, here, now one of these should line up with our thing. And here is our cross section, more or less. These benches are at right angles to these benches. And these benches. So now we can kinda make things happen. And they should work. Put my torch on. I kind of wanted to get all this done during in-game daytime. But yeah. Now, I probably didn't go far enough. I just want to get this aligned once again by eye, which might not be as exact as it should. And my mouse is a little unadjusted on its pad to facilitate this exact movement. And neither is my keyboard. But you kind of get the point. So, that's pretty much the video, more or less. And let me just finish by showing you roughly a placement that would be considered good enough. Also, to align a foundation to these benches, you have to do that by eye, which isn't exactly ideal, but it is what you have to do for now. I'm looking at how one side of the overlapping ghost looks to another side and how it angles to the benches on the left. And if it looks close enough, that's about all I can do. So anyway, you get your angle, and this rock is going to be a problem probably. But the angle should be the same because I have not moved my mouse. This one's probably getting blocked by the rocks, but it's an idea. Now, also what I could do is attempt to stack the benches while they are in alignment. But it's kind of tricky that way. Like I said, I could finish the construction myself, but it's easier to let your handy workers handle it. Because that way you don't have to switch what tool you're using for building this monstrosity. And then also what you have to do is get over to this set of benches and effectively make a corner and it's clipping too far into the cross-section benches. So it's easier to do this when you just made all of the build facsimile ghosts, basically, the ghosts of what you're constructing, and place those. So I could just stack them on top of each other. So I just fudged this one because I don't want this video to take very long. So I'll just do a little example here. A little example that may be quite a bit off, like so. Also, for some reason, I jump here and it knocks me forward a little bit. I'm not sure why. It could have been a PAL, it could have been something else. But anyway, the idea is the same. So the idea is to angle your construction facsimiles where they are extended from each other, more or less, based on what is already there. And you can do slight movements with your control stick or your keyboard. I use keyboard and mouse because I'm on Steam. Okay, and then here is our angle, or one of our angles, but it's not in the right direction because we have to place this like so. And use the stacked benches as our guides for placing foundation at a right angle between them. Now, I completely fudged this up because I'm just trying to make a point. But yeah, look for my stream tomorrow when I actually show how the finished product is supposed to look. I'm going to continue measuring and doing my thing here. And also, it's going to be made of stone. You can extend stone off of wood, though. But you cannot extend anything through benches, which is kind of why I did it this way. Because I need guidelines that will not budge. So anyway, I hope this has been educational to you in your Palworld journey. Hope to see you soon. Or hope to see you again soon. And as always, hold on. And as always, more to come.